Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we are back on our gemstone series. So I'm probably gonna pronounce this wrong, but we're doing the Lapis Lazuli nails today based on this stone here. So there's lots of different markings, different textures. So I'm starting with Stormwatch as the background, and you're going to watch me basically trying to figure this out as I go. So I'm going to pop this down as the base. You probably only need one coat of this, but I did go in with two just for funsies. I'm going to pop that into cure, and then we're going to be taking our ultra matte coat and I'm going to put this all over the nail. And this is mainly because I know I'm going to be doing detail work and I want the lines to look quite sharp and neat, and I don't want them to go anywhere. And if they're on a shiny background, they might slide around a bit. Once that's cured, I'm taking Wolfsbane and just a fine detail brush, and I'm going to be doing some irregular lines across the nail. So it's going to look really harsh at the moment, because I realised later on it needed softening a bit. I'm going to go in with kind of like a milky coat over the top, and it's going to soften it all up a bit. But for now, we're taking that Wolfsbane and we're just doing, like I say, irregular lines that don't have to be perfectly straight. There could be different widths, different textures. You don't want them symmetrical or anything like that. You literally just want to be adding in some horizontal lines. I am going to taper this design off towards the top because I know I'm going to be going in with a darker blue, and I don't think any of this will really be seen towards the top of the nail. I'm just going in and adding it anyway, but I'm not doing as much as at the bottom. Once that's cured, I'm taking Misty Morning, which is a very, very light grey, like an off-white tone, and I'm just going in and doing this exact same thing. I'm kind of just like lining the bottom of some of these lines, adding in different ones. Like I say, it doesn't want to be perfect, it doesn't want to be symmetrical, so just follow along while I'm doing this bit. I'm going to pop that into cure, and then I'm taking Wolfsbane again and just one of our fan brushes, and I'm just going to dab this on, kind of like dry brushing as well. I don't want too much product on there, just to add some texture to the nail, because when you look back at the stone it wasn't perfect lines and it was quite dotty and textured, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing with Misty Morning as well. Like I said earlier in the video, I did notice it was looking a bit harsher, so I'm going to soften it up. So I am just using a lint-free wipe to wipe off some of the product again and soften it a little bit as I'm going, as you can see. And once this is all cured, I will be adding a milky coat over the top with Stormwatch. I'm going to mix that with some base coat. And I'm probably going to end up doing about a 1-to-1 of base coat to the colour, because I want it to cover enough that it softens the whole look, but I don't want it to cover it too much. Like I say, it should be like a creamy milky kind of colour. So I'm just going to pop this on and then just kind of wipe it back off a little bit as I'm going, so you can see all of that texture underneath too. Once that's cured, I'm taking our ultra matte coat and putting a layer of this on and curing it, because I am going to be doing some sponging for the blue colour at the top, and I want the background to be matte because it means that anything I'm sponging on will stick to it better than a shiny surface. So I'm taking Ocean Ridge and I'm just going to mix that with some Royal Blood, because neither of the colours were exactly the colour on the stone, so I thought I'm going to mix them together and see if I can get it as close as possible. So I did mix it together. I realised it wasn't quite right, and I compared it with the stone again and just added some more colours in there. As you can see, I'm just having a look there. It's looking quite good, but I am just going to mix in a little bit of the darker colour because it's not quite as deep and rich as the one on the stone. Once I'm happy with that colour, I'm literally going to take a beauty blender and just chop off a little bit of it, and we're going to use that sponge and just add the product at the top. I don't want this to be a harsh line, I don't want it to be too perfect, I do want it to have a bit of texture as well, so I am going to make the transition not too perfect on this. Once I'm happy with the placement of the colour, I am going to be taking some acrylic powder and I'm just going to pour this over the top of the uncured gel that I've just sponged on, and this will give it some grit and texture, so when I go in with the next layer on the sponge, it'll stick even more and it'll be a much more intense colour than if I didn't add on the acrylic powder. Once I'm happy with that, I'm going to pop it in the lamp to cure and then just dust off all the excess acrylic powder, and we're just going to repeat the process. So I'm taking that blue mixture on a sponge and dabbing that on, and as you can see, it's sticking to the nail so much better with that acrylic powder now, and just keep blending that down until I'm happy with the transition too. Build it up a little bit and we're going to do exactly the same thing again. So I'm just adding on that acrylic powder, just pour that over the top while that gel's still uncured, and then we're going to pop it in the lamp to cure it again and dust off all the excess just like we did before. And for this final layer, I won't need to do any extra acrylic because we're not going to add any more onto the top of it. So I'm just going back over the section I've already done, and as you can see, that colour is really rich and deep now. I'm going to pop that into cure, and then I'm taking our gel top coat nail sealer, and I love using this when I need to even out any texture. So if I use anything like the acrylic on here and it leaves a little bit of texture, it evens all of that out. And I also love to use it when I'm doing isolated chrome, because I'll put this on and then I'll buff the whole nail down once it's cured. And that's what I'm doing today, because I'm doing both of those things. I'm trying to get rid of any texture that's left from the acrylic powder, and I'm going to be doing some isolated chrome. So we've got a double whammy with this one. So once I've buffed that all down, I'm just going to dust off any of that excess dust because we don't want that getting in any of our gel polishes. And then I'm going to be taking some Serious Black and just popping that on a spoolie brush. So I'm just popping some on a resin palette and dabbing the spoolie brush in there essentially. I don't want too much on there, and I'm just going to dab this across the nail, and wherever the black is, the chrome will stick. So you will find there'll be extra bits that you don't think are on there where the chrome will stick to it because you've got more product on there. But on the original stone, it did have some glittery flecks. I have a feeling that in these stones that's not meant to be there. It might just be some kind of error, but I thought it looked nice, so I'm adding it on anyway. So once that black's cured, I'm just taking this chrome pen and going over the whole entire nail, and it'll only stick to where the gel polish was. It won't stick to the background. And then I'm just going to take a sponge and just wipe down the nail and get off the excess chrome. Once I'm happy with that, I'm just going back in with that blue mixture that I made and adding some dabs of that too. I just thought it would add to the look. It wasn't necessarily exactly how the stone looked, but I just thought it made it look a little bit more interesting and blended the two sections together. Once that's cured, I'm just going in with some top coat and just adding a nice generous layer over the top of this, making sure it's nice and smooth. And then I'm going to pop it in the lamp to cure. I have done a full set of these nails just so you can see what they look like as a full set, because sometimes you don't get the full picture with just one nail. There we go, guys. I think it's turned out really, really cute. It's not exactly the same as the stone, but it's very, very much inspired by it. And I just love an abstract nail. I don't know about you guys, but I do. And there we have it as a full set as well. If you want any of the products that I've used today, they'll be linked down below so you can buy them from our easy shopping link. We'd love to know what you want to see next, so leave us a comment, and we'll see you next time, guys. Bye.